Good evening and welcome. It is Monday Night Football, Soweto TV, Kamzambata, as we head into the last show of the year after the last round of fixtures in the DStv Premiership at the weekend. So, of course, big news coming through is that TS Galaxy, not Dance Malesela, have decided to part ways. I'll be putting that to my panel alongside the hot start that Usutu have made with Benni McCarthy at the helm. We'll also look into the defensive woes of Kaizer Chiefs and just how they were able to be stopped at the weekend by Golden Arrows with Mamelodi Sundowns in that 1-1 draw. So much to munch on as far as tonight's bone is concerned. And to help me do that, I have a well-assembled panel made up of Shwe Walters, former Maritzburg United goalkeeper. We have award-winning journalist Veli Limnyandu in the house and former Kaizer Chiefs midfielder Kelvin Sosibo. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Thanks for joining me this evening. Let's start with the big news, TS Galaxy and Dance deciding to part ways. Shoaib, do you think it's the right call, or did he maybe pull the trigger too early on this one? Considering that out of the bottom five, only 2 teams now have coaches that were there at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I think he pulled the trigger at the right time. We normally don't look at points and you look more at performances and is the growth, is the progression, and I think that was the biggest concern for Tom Sukazi. They had back-to-back defeats, they not creating chances, they conceding. So in that sense, now if you're not seeing a progression and you're not seeing a team going forward, sometimes you can say your team is unlucky and they're just not scoring their goals, They're not converting their chances. But I think you could see that they kind of just need a change of formation, because like you were saying earlier on, they were using all their substitutes, they were changing their team all the time. So he was kind of looking, so he was a little bit lost as a coach also.
For sure.
And I think that's the biggest concern for owner himself, is when you see that your coach himself is a little bit lost, looking for answers.
I mean, speaking to that point, Velilo, trying to find a combination right. I mean, was that made very difficult by the fact that essentially he's trying to fuse Amatimaitu between TS Galaxy that came up, or didn't come up with the status, but the team from the National First Division, and Highlands Park. I mean, trying to find a balance between all those players.
Yeah, partly I think you can also say that. But I think when you go 6 games on a winless streak, 3 back-to-back losses, and also you hardly score. I think yesterday, this past weekend scoring the 2 goals was the first time they had scored in 3 matches. So there are more problems, and like Shoaib is also saying, yes, there are chances created, but it's not your clear-cut chances as well. I guess, sometimes we just look at the results, and there could be other things behind the scenes,
right?
Where the management feels like, even if we do give him a chance, this might not help,
Right.
And remember, now Dance has been fired twice in 2 consecutive seasons by the same team, So you wonder sometimes of what part of the decision also comes from what has informed them of why they released him the last time in the first division and then to this situation. And remember, these are 2 different leagues. And also the timing is also always very important. And the timing now, there's a break. So they would feel that whatever changes that they make now could make them ready by the time they return early next month.
No, for sure. And I think that is critical. But, Kelvin, what we're having now, stepping up to the plate, is his former assistant in Zibo Dlangalala coming through. Do you think he's the man to move them forward? Is it a sense of continuity? He knows the boys. Maybe a question of style being maintained but more effective. Why do you think they've gone with that and aren't looking for maybe someone new to bring in new ideas?
Well, I think with Zibo Dlangalala as well, they might have want to maybe continue with the style of play, but I think because of team knows Dan much, I think it's evident enough to say, okay, maybe they're looking for other viable options, but just to still have Zibo Dlangalala, who's going to be an assistant, who's stepping up to the plate now. So I think somebody that they will bring in will actually add more value into the team, because he will actually have an assistant coming from the coaches that have been there. So it'll be easier to actually put the team together, because he will know the team much better. And then again, if you look at it, the team has worked with Dan for quite some time.
Right.
And I know maybe the decision to us, it might be a shock, but to team, it could not be a shock because he knows the coach in and out. Because as Velile's mentioned, he's been fired twice and he's brought back. So what is it that they were actually looking for? Maybe they were looking for to start on a high, which is unfortunate it didn't happen. So now that forced the move.
Okay, before we look at the results, I want to find out from you two gents if you believe that Zipho Dlangalala is the man to move them forward, starting with you, Shweb. Do you think he should maintain the position? Should it be a wait-and-see approach, or do you think they do need to bring in someone from externally?
I think they're going to have to bring in somebody, because if we're having two coaches that have similar techniques or structures, then you're going to get similar results. So if the coach that's going to be there now and is similar to Dan, then you're just going to have something continuity, just with a different coach, but the similar structures. So I think they do need to bring in somebody else. And we have to obviously look at the merry-go-round and what coaches are around. There's quite a few coaches that are available. And I think that could make a difference to the team.
I think on my side, I think Zipho, for me, he can continue. The reason being because that team is still fairly young. He's got a lot of blend in terms of youngsters, and Zipho works very well with in terms of the youngsters. Yes, it's true. They might need somebody to take over. Maybe somebody with a bigger pedigree within Zipho. So I think Zipho, for me, it's good because the youngsters that they have, he can easily push them to a direction where they want.
And mold them into his players. But Velile, is he the man to protect a 60 million rand investment? Because that's a big outlay from Tim Sugazi. And, you know, I think the greatest embarrassment would be to go back down, you know, not having, you know, earned your way back up, you know. So who protects that 60 million investment as a coach to come in and help this team avoid relegation?
I think one of the things that we don't do well in South Africa is to give coaches a chance and the new coaches a chance. Zipho is not a new coach. In fact, some of the coaches who are coaching in the PSL today, he's more experienced than them.
Sure.
He's been long in the business. And yes, his style is similar to Coach Dence's style.
Right.
But sometimes until you're given a chance, you never know. Because coaches also learn differently, you know. But sometimes also you find that with club owners, because we had a team yesterday saying he's going to give Zipho a chance. And you don't know if they really mean it.
Yeah.
Because...
I think that's the thing. Is the people are wondering, is he genuine?
Yes.
Do you think he's genuine?
I can never commit when it comes to football club owners and that, because you could find that already in his mind. He knows what he's going to do.
Right.
It wouldn't be a commitment.
That is the media statement.
Right.
And that is the soundbite that has to go out to manage the situation.
How many times haven't you heard club owners say we're fully behind the coaches, and then next week the coach is fired?
Gone,
So
it's true.
Yeah, and also you must understand that Coach Dance was instrumental in bringing Zipho to TS Galaxy.
Sure. That's the thing that doesn't make sense. But anyway, it is what it is. Let's have a look as far as the results are concerned from the weekend, and then of course we'll remark on some of those that kind of jump out at us. But of course, as you see there, the likes of Maritzburg United not really being able to kind of get up and running against Stellenbosch there. But a big one would be AmaZulu recording a good victory against Chippa United. It was Chippa that took the lead, but Benni McCarthy's men were able to come back in that one. And I guess that's a nice way to segue into Benni's start to life. I mean, we spoke about it a week ago, Velile, in terms of what he brings as far as an aura, as far as expertise. And, you know, no one will know what to attribute it to. Is it a new coach bounce? Is it what they did in training? But man, they've got points on the board, and it was a good start to his tenureship with that front three looking so lethal.
I listened to the post-match comments yesterday, both from Benni and also from Coach Siema. Coach Siema seems to feel that in terms of the confidence, you could see that the AmaZulu players, they were there for the game. Yeah. And they wanted to play for the coach. They wanted to raise their hands. But also listening to Benni as well, he's saying, coming to this game, he had just 2 to 3 training sessions, and he was working more on the confidence of the players. And you could see the motivation, even when they went down early in the 14th minute, but they were still coming, and they responded, you know. And look, the AmaZulu team has got good quality players around. But if you looked even in the midweek game against Arrows, I felt that some of them are still playing more as individuals. They are not yet a team, you know. So I think now with this short break, Coach Benni has to get the team, because yesterday you could see the quality. I mean, you look at the second goal from Mlambo to Mulenga to Memela, you know, and you look at even the third goal as well, and the confidence, just a cheeky back heel there, but also you see when you've got key players like Mulenga, because Mulenga, was his complaint for leaving Barrett? He wanted game time.
Sure.
Now he's getting game time and is showing it.
Right.
If he's not scoring, he's providing an assist. If it's not an assist, it's a secondary assist.
Yes.
You know, so he's always involved there. And I also listened to Benni again talking about Kolam Lambo, you know, on how he played him in a more advanced role yesterday because of the quality in his play. But if you look before yesterday, we had been complaining about Kola that we don't see him at AmaZulu. So sometimes when you have a different type of a coach, and we had this conversation about Benni last week, you know, on what he brings to the team. But it's only the first game, so we'll have to see, because I think one of their early games next month is against Chiefs.
There we go. So a real test. We're going to come back to your thoughts in a moment's time. We're just taking a short little break, after which we're going to continue here on Monday Night Football on Soweto TV. And you're back. It's Monday Night Football on Soweto TV. But Benni McCarthy and the start he's made with Usutu, and I was still trying to get the impressions of Shweb Walters and Calvin on this one, having gotten the thoughts of Veli Lemnyandu. Shweb, I mean, as we had said last week, Benni bringing a whole new, motivation, but to think that they got that result and was so effective with only 2 to 3 training sessions, does that make it a scary prospect of what this team could become with enough time to understand what the coach wants and to gel?
I think we've always agreed right at the beginning of the season already that AmaZulu with their signings could be a force. And I think they just fit in maybe the last part of the puzzle, which is the coach. I do believe the result over the weekend was a lot to do with you, because Sosi will also maybe agree with me. When a new coach comes in, the players also are saying, okay, there's an opportunity. Maybe you're a fringe player, so there's an opportunity for me now. I want to shine. And I believe that is where the result came from. Also, like Valile was saying, Mlambo being given a bit of a more advanced position, which is Benni also, it's a psychological thing where I give you the freedom to play a little bit more of a freer role, and you show me your quality. And he's like, okay, I actually enjoy that position a lot more than sitting and being more restricted. So it brings a different type of game to you.
Sure.
Like, for example, Sosi was a winger. But if Sosi was put up front where you just need to score goals, you play out of your shell. Because he said, okay, this is where I always, want to play. So to a certain degree, Benni brought in his psychological difference to the players. And I think that is where they got a lot more confident. And with confidence come those types of performances where they create good chances. Mamela, okay, he's been playing well for the whole season, but also Benni just giving that extra confidence.
Okay, and Sosi is a winger. Sosi, how much does it help to have, obviously, Benni, but now you've also got Pele in the mix, Munib Joseph's being his name is being bandied about, but essentially having footballers speaking to footballers, or former footballers speaking to footballers. How much easier does that make it to share that information, for things to be taken on board when you have essentially one of your own speaking to you and saying, hey guys, this is what we need you to do?
Yeah, true. I think what Benni did was, within the players themselves, Benni came in, and then there was more of an authority. Benni is somebody that has been there, has done it, has played at the highest level. So it's easier for him to get the message across. I'm not undermining other coaches, the coach that was there, but I'm saying with Benni, he might have to actually say something once than somebody that has been there before. So for Benni, it's easier to relate with other players as well, and just to get the message swiftly, quickly, and fast. And within the players that are around the technical area as well, it makes it easier for the players as well to understand even the way they are playing and their position. Because if you look at the panel, it's greatly balanced, but it's more led by a striking force, which is Benni and Novete.
Yeah.
They're both strikers, so I'm not surprised with the number of goals that they actually scored, because it shows that the information that was given, maybe the patterns of runs that were created in training sessions, because if you create more chances and you bury them, the least could be said.
Okay, cool. Well, that's one to look out for, because as far as we're concerned, that was a very good start and there's plenty more to come, hopefully in 2021. Let's move on to another coach who's been doing well. We've already spoken about Brakkies here on the show, but he's done even better at the weekend by making sure he's equal with points at the top of the table with Mamelodi Sundowns, and someone who'll be thinking, yeah, we called it, is Schweib. As we kind of, obviously Brakkies was a heated topic of debate as far as him being awarded the Coach of the Month. But, he travels all the way up to the north and is able on their patch to beat Black Leopards and keep the Swallows machine rolling. I think that's more credit and vindication probably for that award.
Yes, I think so. Sundowns is on top with 18 points.
Right.
After 24.
Right.
Out of 24,
Out of
sorry.
24, yeah.
So, I just want to get my mathematics correct.
Spot
This
on.
this time around.
This time around, yeah, without the calculator. Look, I think he's in it for the long run. I think he's shown now, because to go out up to Limpopo and get a positive, your full 3 points,
yeah.
it's amazing. And he's also showing that his game is varied. He can play sensible football at times. He can play compact football. So he's a coach that I think is definitely, we can consider top 8 now already, with the way that they are playing. Yes, obviously we're going to have opposition that's going to analyze them and see where the weaknesses are, which I think the goal that they conceded, dragging them from one side and then switching play to the other side,
Right.
I think that could be a weakness for them. But what I liked was the comeback, because if I remember correctly, I don't think they were behind before. And this was the first time. If I'm speaking under correction, but I'm happy
They were
to
behind against Arrows.
Yeah, against Arrows as well. One other game. So I wanted to see how they would react.
Yeah.
Because normally that they're very compact and they will sit deep and wait for you and then try and sometimes transition. A lot of the times press high, but they're very organized defensively. So I wanted to see how they would react to coming from behind. And if you look at that first 10 minutes, there was about 4 chances to each side.
Yes,
it was an
yes,
entertaining
yes,
game.
yes.
For the first
Yes.
20 minutes.
Yes,
it
and also
couldn't-
even when they considered the first goal, you look at the chances. There's a chance where the boy who made his debut, Khaukhelo, midweek, I think it hit the upright. There was also a chance that went close, just past the upright, of Gamildien as well.
Makwena had a chance.
Yes.
So in that sense, they created some good chances, and I think it was now maybe this was justification for the rest of the public or the rest of South Africa for getting the award. And I think Sundowns still gets the quota, so congratulations to Sundowns. I'm very happy for them.
Yeah.
And I'm
It
sure
must be stated.
Yeah, it must be stated, and I'm sure the rest of South Africa are too happy that they won the Q Innovation.
Okay, but let's talk about that player that you mentioned there, Gamildien. Here's a player where, when you saw him in his previous stints, you thought maybe, okay, it's going to be another case of potential unfulfilled, He goes down to the, National First Division with Swallows, gets an opportunity, and essentially has become their best player. Obviously you've got Cheeseboy Novuyo as the stalwarts, but how key is Gamildien?
This is one of the things I didn't understand. Because first time he came into the picture was with the Santos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he went to Celtic.
Yeah, and then he
and
went to
I didn't
Chiba.
understand then when he dropped to the first division. Not when he went to Steenbeck. There was a time when he went to the first division. And I think that was also I think it reflected badly on the PSL teams, the scouting. How can you let talent like that? Because the quality has always been there.
Sure.
Maybe yes, there could be other things that
off the
I don't
field.
know, off the field, but the quality has always been there, and you could see when he went down to NFD again with Steenberg, I think he scored 11 goals.
He was top goal scorer in the January window.
In the first round, yes. Then Chipper went for him. I was actually surprised that Chipper released him now, you know, because you can see the quality.
For sure.
And this is not paraffin form. Into ezophela manje.
Sure.
No. It's a Qhubeka.
Exactly.
Yesterday he could have easily had a hat trick.
No, for sure.
You know, he could have easily had a hat trick. So at this rate, he's sitting on what now? 6 or 7 goals.
Yeah.
Only 6 goals, yeah.
Yes,
He's
yes.
scored 4 in the last 2, so yeah.
Exactly.
He's doing
you know,
well.
so for me, I think whoever was doing the scouting for Swallows, in terms of recruiting him,
Did a great job.
did a great
I
job.
think that
Also
was-
getting him on a free.
I think
for
that was Brandon, because they're obviously familiar with one another.
Okay.
Also part of he's growing up in Cape Town. I think Brakis played a part with Kamal Said as well.
Yes, yes.
And I think I spoke to, I think it was Rob Dalport, and Rob Dalport said, because we spoke about it, and what could have been this transformation. Rob said he thinks it could have been when he got married, and that was his transformation. I mean, maybe you were young, you're a normal footballer,
Yeah. Irresponsible.
you're responsible, you're a little bit vulnerable to distractions, and I think maybe that was the case at Celtics. And then he maybe just needed, to go back home to Cape Town, be grounded, and luckily for him, he was one of the few that's been given an opportunity again, another opportunity, and he's actually taken the opportunity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of footballers out there that's been
That
given
don't
2,
make
3
it.
up and doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but this is where it's also important that, yes, there are those footballers that are going to have challenges off the field.
Right.
But to protect the talent, what do you do?
Yeah.
Because, we're talking about just some of the players in the big teams.
Yeah.
Yes, the talent is there, but discipline off the
Off the
field.
field discipline.
Lifestyle.
So now, maybe as a father figure, if you're a coach, what do you do
Yeah.
to make sure that we don't lose the talent?
Sure. So maybe that's what they did. Took approach of putting an arm around him.
Yeah, hence,
I think-
hence this explanation coming from Rob.
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to understand it.
No, makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, and let's just to clarify, it's 3 goals in the last 2 games. Let's look at the other teams in the top 4, and we're looking at SuperSport United and Cape Town City. Both come off the back of 2-1 victories at the weekend. What does that make them in this bigger picture? I mean, are they challenging for the title, or are they just going to be there or thereabouts? From what you've seen to them, is the table telling the truth when they say the table doesn't lie?
Yeah, I think it doesn't lie. I think they're good contenders. They're doing themselves a favor, picking up points earlier, which is at the end of the day, the more you drop points, the more difficult it becomes. So when we go through the break, I think it gives you an element where you have to refresh, and at least you have an idea in terms of where you want to place yourself. So I think this is actually a favor to the team.
Okay, I mean, we've
It's still early
yeah.
days. It's still early days.
I was about to say.
Yes, and a lot is going to change along the way
Yeah.
the season.
But it's good.
But what is good is that, especially as a newly promoted team, the sooner you get to 30 points, the better.
Yeah, that's
And
the
then
point.
you can start to dream now about what you want to do.
Because you see
And
Khune
also,
mistake.
I think there's something we discussed here the other day. They have not even used 70% of their squad, especially on the new players. So they are gonna come those times. But also, when you look at some of the teams there in the top bracket, are teams, Parade, Sundowns, are teams that are competing in CAF interclub competitions.
Sure. Sure.
So this is going to be time for them to also continue punching, and because also, let's face it, we know the quality that is there at Sundowns.
Yeah.
But if you look, when they were playing what I see as a second string team this past weekend, you could see that they are still trying to accommodate some players.
Right.
And this is when a contender can then take advantage of the situation.
Yeah.
And Sundowns, in fact, Swallows did that this weekend.
So do you
by
think they're later
registering
on time?
2 extra points.
Do you think they're later on time in terms of bringing in those new players?
They're on time.
Yeah, they're
I
on
would
time.
say they're on
huh?
time. They did it on time. I
Yeah.
think it's good to see the coach trying new methods now. Luckily, it's working for him, and it's bearing results as well. Than to rather be under pressure now to play all these other players that they've signed. I think bringing them batch by batch, it's actually profiting to the coach side.
Right, right. And how are you finding the integration of the Sundowns players? Because, obviously that's a criticism leveled at them is that they go on a big spending spree, but a lot of the time it takes a while for certain players anyway to make an impression. But it just seems like this batch anyway, there's been a lot more who've been able to hit the ground running.
Yes, I think because they know that These are players that you know at Sundowns you're going to get 1 or 2 opportunities, so you have to make the most of it. I look and you look at Mvala, he scored the weekend and he's been given a re-opportunity and it's good for him also.
But how was the play? I see the goal. How was the play?
Look, the play was good and I think he can fit in a Sundowns team. I think he's also if you want a different type of football, you can bring me in. And that is what I'm saying. Mageman I think was a little bit nervous at times because he was losing his footing quite a bit.
Yeah.
Decision making, but he's still young.
Yes.
He's still in under 23 squad, so he still has a lot of time. It was good for him to get that run, get it under his belt, and now to work and move forward. So for me, I think they brought it in. They brought it in at the right time. It's difficult because there was times when Pitso was the coach and he had a lot of injuries and he'd bring players in and they would underperform and you'd actually say it in the media, you know.
Right.
But it was actually to a certain degree his fault because
the players hadn't been integrated.
Exactly. But he wasn't a coach for that again. So fortunately for the players that are there now, they've got coaches that are willing to bring in the players gradually. And give them an opportunity.
Well, there we go. Yeah, that's us reflecting as far as the top 4 teams are concerned on the table. We'll still look into others as we head towards the end of the show, but not before we take another break, after which we continue right here with Monday Night Football. Soweto TV. Be right back. This is Buile, and you're still on Monday Night Football, Soweto TV. The name is Kamza. Thank you so much for using that hashtag of MNF on Soweto TV. Now, we're speaking about Mamelodi Sundowns, but we'd be remiss not to bring up their opponents at the weekend, who themselves have made a good start to the season. Let's talk about Golden Arrows, guys, because I don't know how many people had money on the fact that we'd be sitting here saying, after all these rounds, unbeaten, here's a side, that are usually known for their, flamboyant play and what they bring to the field. But I thought, okay, they're going to get wiped aside by most teams. But Mamelodi Sundowns, traveled down there and they found it a struggle, Veli. It just goes to show that, in a sense, Mamanto has said, Mandla Ngazi, here's the opportunity. You know what we do here. We blood the youth. We develop players. And we also play great football. But points and results are coming, especially against such a strong side, to hold them at the weekend.
Yeah, and also if you look at it, it was 2 points dropped for Arrows.
Yeah.
On the balance of chances that they had in the game. But also, if you look at it, this is an Arrows team. I remember I had a conversation with him during the week last week. And he said there are games where he felt they dropped points and they should have won those games. And they were leading only to concede and ended up having to settle for a point. But also the continuity sometimes, and this is where for me I always say, when we talk about a coach having left, we don't have to talk about recycling, because Ngazi has always been there.
Sure.
He's another experienced coach.
Sure.
And until the time where we introduce fresh, new ideas, and if you look at that squad, he's been working with some of the players there since they were 10, 12,
For sure.
So it becomes easy, but it's just that sometimes I feel that in South Africa we like names, and if, I don't like referencing to Europe sometimes, but if you look at the revolution that's happening in Germany, where they bring in young coaches,
like and Nagelsmann or...
yes, and coaches who've been part of the system as well. So someone like Ngazi, for me, it's a no-brainer. Yes, I know that Arrows have not had an easy year. I think after the bubble, they had gone something like 9-10 matches without a win. But you can see the way they've started this season. Arrows, I think it's one of the few teams that have scored in each and every single game they played this season. And you can see even the brand of football that they're playing. There's Nsako, there's a Modi, well led by Matiane, and you look at how this boy who's been scoring from dead balls, Sibia, Nduduzo, is coming of age. And the majority of their squad are players who are either coming from the amateur leagues or they're coming from within their systems.
Sure.
So it tells you about a model that is fully operational here.
Okay, and I mean, Shwebe, was that something you saw in coaching Ngazi like at Maritzburg? I mean, did you kind of see that here's a man who, given the time and resources, can get good results out of a team? And what do you think has been the biggest kind of development in his coaching since then?
I think yes, and I think when it came to Maritzburg, I just don't think they gave him enough time. He's a brilliant coach. We still chat now. We send messages to one another. He's a very, very nice guy, and I think he needed an opportunity. But with certain coaches, like with him, and like Veli saying, he's been working with those coaches. So he's been working with those players. 15, 16. And the module is the same from Dusky to the PSL team. So that is why when you come in from the Dusky team or even from the under 17 team, you're going to come into a similar module and you know what your job is.
For sure, you know your role.
You know your role. And I think that is what is working best for him. And I think also because he's the go-to guy as a player. So he's not this coach that stamps his authority. He's a player's coach. You can go have a chat, you can speak. And I think that is what is helping him a lot. And I think, but then again also you look Maritzburg and what is learned, maybe the mistakes he made at Maritzburg is now what is, you know, now you can see he's an all-round coach. And I do believe a coach like him should be given an opportunity, and I think they will give him a good opportunity, and I think he's still going to do very well with Arrows.
So, see, what kind of, coach do you think, has the best chance at kind of connecting with players? You know, some people speak about disciplinarians, some people speak about, those who go with the soft touch. In the dressing rooms you've been in, and players responding, what kind of coach, what kind of personality was leading?
I think Democrat. You'll work with somebody who's a Democrat. It's easier to relate to, and most of the time, if you reference with many coaches that can actually speak to players in a tone that they understand.
Right.
Because sometimes some players, when the message comes in, it becomes too aggressive, and then they end up losing in terms of how they've prepared to apply themselves in the game. But with somebody that can actually connect you to the game and make you feel part of the team, it gives you a confidence that you want to work for a player, and you actually want to work for the coach, to gain more of his confidence, because it's not somebody that's just going to bring you down. But some coaches, when they do it, they believe in being strong so that they can get the message quickly and fast.
Okay, speaking about a strong approach, maybe this is a good time to now look at Kaizer Chiefs. And, obviously with them now, probably this is Gavin Hunt's toughest start to any kind of team situation he's been in, Obviously, he will say that he knew about the, one hand being tied behind his back by the limitations that he has at Kaizer Chiefs. But, defensively, knowing that you can't go into the market, Belile, how do you sort this out? Because, they look like they can create chances. They just don't take them. And then they allow the opponents to score chances that they should be not allowing. So it seems like an impasse. And he's got a couple of weeks to sort it out. I mean, he might try something new in the, CAF games this week. But how does he address that?
Yeah, that one is very tricky. Because as you say, if you look at the last two matches, they had better chances. They had better chances than SuperSport United and even Celtic.
Yeah.
In fact, even when they were one man down, they still had some chances against the SuperSport United.
Sure.
You can see the attack is really struggling because when you create chances like that, at least take two.
Yeah.
Take and this is what should have happened in this Celtic game. They took an early lead, so you kill off the game.
Sure.
Sure. And there were chances. If you look at the chances that Castro had, Kama also had a chance as well. But I think with Chiefs, it's a bit tricky because sometimes I also didn't see sometimes the energy, the energy.
So it's a confidence thing.
The confidence thing for the players, especially when they reach, when they reach the final third.
Right.
But also defense is also informed by the pressure of the game as well, And with the Celtic game in the second half, you could see that Celtic were going to get something.
Sure.
No, you could see they were going to score.
Yes.
You could see it as soon as that whistle started in the second half. You could see that it was the body language of Chiefs.
Yes.
That was telling you we're going to invite pressure here and we're going to concede, or they're going to ask the goalkeeper to save them.
So, but why would the body language? Why would players going into the second half? You're only leading by one goal. You still have work to do.
I know there's a confidence issue.
Definitely confidence.
Yeah, there's a confidence issue, but then again, You know, Chiefs players last season, when they were going for, they had their shortcomings under Mirandop, but you could see they were pushing.
Sure.
It's missing this season. This is missing this season, and I don't know why it's missing.
And it's not also helping that every game, most of the games you're chase against leopards. You play very well because they apparently went into their own little bio bubble and you know, had a boot camp, and you could see before the Super Sport game, and you could see they were coming, they were guns blazing, creating chances upon chances, and then against the run of play you concede, and then
In that fashion.
in that fashion also. So, and then you demoralized again, and your confidence is low already.
Yeah.
But you come with a little bit of good confidence because now your game is going, you're creating chances, and then you are your own worst enemy. I'm going to say as a team, but yes, as individual errors. And then you have to go and chase, and then you're like, oh, is it this again?
Yeah.
Is it the leopards again?
Yeah.
And those are a lot of this is going to be mental for them now going forward.
Yeah, I think also what informs a good setup of a team, I think it comes from players. I think it's the attitude factor that needs to be instilled, that needs to be correct from players. Because I think body language and attitude correlate. So if they go together, I think those players, if they can change their mindset, because now teams have actually seen that Chiefs are low in confidence, yes, but what is the first thing that we do? We make them uncomfortable because their back line is shaky. So what do? We start by attacking on their last third. Then the rest of the job, actually in the middle, maybe they can bypass that. But if they have more entries in the box, and knowing them that their defense is not that solid, it actually every game that they are playing, you'll always see their defense defending facing their own goals, and that's criminal. You can't do that as a defender, always being facing your own goal, because anything can happen.
So what do you make of when a goalkeeper decides that I don't like the way we're playing as a team, so I'm going to try and influence the way we play by playing out the back, then we get punished using that method? You know, what's happening there when the player seems to be doing, you know, something different to what the coach believes in? Maybe as a player, you can kind of help us.
I think maybe no. This statement
Can
must
I-
be
can I
asked.
just-
No.
can I
The
just
statement.
answer?
No. The
Can I
statement must
answer?
be asked by.
Can I answer?
No.
Yeah.
The question
No.
should be going to the goalkeeper.
No, but
No, yeah, but
there's a specific
I'm coming
reason
there.
why
I'm
they're
coming
going.
there.
Okay.
There's a
I'm
specific
coming
reason
to
why.
Schwab.
Okay.
We start here with Calvin, we're going to get to Schwab.
Okay, on my side, I think it's very uncharacteristic from him to do that. It's true. You can't go against the coach's order, even though if things don't work, because I feel as a coach, you will actually appreciate when you lose and players are applying to what you want to do. Then actually when you find a player decides to actually to navigate and go a different direction, because it sways the whole team out. It's a very bad mistake that he actually made, and then he came out, he came up front and then put his point across in terms of what he wants.
Yeah.
But it's not about him.
Sure.
It's about the whole team.
Yeah.
Even the staff, everybody. Because when you play for the team, you're playing for the team. You're not playing for yourself.
For sure.
We understand his quality. He's a good keeper. But at the end of the day, he doesn't need to put himself under pressure because already he's a good player.
No, for
So
sure.
what he needs to do, just instill some of his discipline, get back maybe to the drawing board for himself to understand that before he became Khune, what was he doing right?
For sure.
Then other
The
than
basics.
to try to overtake. Because now, if you're looking at it at a point whereby now you're seeing yourself as a coach and a player, that's contradiction. You need to stick to one. So if you stick to one, you understand that I'm employed to play. Even if the results are not going the right way. If I concede goals as a goalkeeper, but then I have a right to come to you as a player, and a coach and say, Coach, I think the reason maybe we might be conceding a lot of goals is because maybe of the formation that we play. Then we're having a one-on-one discussion. Then the coach will give me his reason why he applies that, because a coach will analyze the game. We will watch the game because just for the fun of it. But some players take it serious because this is our profession.
Of course.
We need to understand our position in terms of how they play, what's their strong point, what's their weak point. I can analyze that, but let me stick to the script and to the plan.
Sure. Now, knowing all of that, Shoaib, was it the right thing then to bring Daniel Akpeyi back into the picture? You know, someone might say it was insubordination from Khune, that mistake from Khune. They could point to a couple of factors as to why he was not retained. But do you think that's the right decision now from the coach to say, okay, let's try something different? Because let's be fair, Pay probably was been sitting out because of Khune being captain and the figure that he is and the run that they're in. They probably need someone to kind of help the team up, and you know, it's not kind of worked out that way. So it's like Pay now well placed to come in and make a difference.
Yeah, I think you just said it now. Where Khune was brought in because he's the figure, he's the captain, he's one of the leaders, he's probably their biggest leader, he's the biggest influencer in the team, in the club.
Literally, probably, most followers.
Most followers, biggest influencer at the club. So that for me, you need to uplift your players. But when you want to start taking other people's jobs, like saying, oh, I wanna look in the pockets. I don't want to play aeroplane football. And this is what he said. And for me, is my only advice is, I understand at times when you see your team is not doing well, you generally as a captain,
right,
like I was at Maritzburg, you generally want to do more.
Right.
But this is the consequences of you wanting to do more. This is the errors that you're going to make. So my advice to him is, he might not have been in situations like this before because Chiefs have never been there in the last 14 years. So this is a new thing. I've had quite a bit of experience.
Chiefs has its struggles in the past 5 years.
No, they had these struggles, but they've never been in this position on the log. So what I'm saying is, playing-wise, Chiefs have never been in this position on the log while Khune was there. So to a certain degree, it's unfamiliar territory for him. So now he wants to do more. Don't do more. I've tried that at Maritzburg, and I've also made a lot of mistakes. And that's what my advice is to him. I've made a lot of mistakes at Maritzburg, trying because I wanted to do more for the team.
Right.
But don't do that.
Yeah.
Do what you are best at. When I was at City and at Maritzburg, at City and at Mpumalanga Black Aces, where we ended 3rd and 4th, I had my team that did it for me, and I realized all I need to do is be a goalkeeper. And that's when I played my best football. So that is my advice, is because I was experienced in both ends of it.
That had you an inclusion in the Bafana, if I could.
Yeah, 36 years old, still a Bafana call up 2016. So for me, that is where, and you asked the question earlier, I think he still got 3-4 good years, and I'm talking about being part of the Bafana squad for 3-4 years, as pushing Ronwin, because he's a good guy too, as filling in, or even taking the #1 position. If he needs to do much better in club level.
That makes it interesting, Velila. To that point, I mean, you know, some people will think that maybe this is going to be an opportunity for Coach Gavin just to, you know, sweep and bring in some new players and kind of get rid of the old guard. You know, we've got the likes of Manyama's contract is coming to an end in the new year, and the Parkers of the world. Is it time now to maybe say thank you for your service? Let's maybe bring in some youngsters and try and create a new generation of future Chief stars.
I think it's long overdue at Chiefs that they refresh the team. They are players who've been there for a very long time now, and they need to be challenged. And I've been on record many times before when it comes to Chiefs, for a very long time, when they sign a goalkeeper, they've always been looking for a #2 to Khune. Right. And not looking for someone who's going to challenge him, a #1, you know. And this is what they should be doing now, you know.
Brandon not training at Naturina, journalist?
Yeah, but you know, if it means also they can break the bank and go for a Ronwen, if possible, go for it. You understand? Because if you're going to Chiefs, with the situation that they have now, I expect a Chiefs team by now that is like finished 60 or 70% of their recruits for next season. You know, because the budget that they had reserved for now has not worked. Right. So it's a budget that is to be transferred to next season. Sure. And also because you also need to overhaul the team. Yeah. You know, so
you need a big kitty.
Exactly. Firstly, they've identified, I think there's 2 to 3 players already that are already in the system, but just are parked somewhere. But they also need to do more. And the profile of those players, if they are local players, they should be Bafana players, sure. Nothing less. Sure. You know, if they are recruiting from outside, it should also be key players as well. And if maybe they are players who are on form and they are new to the system, but they need to address the issue of quality. And we've always been saying, you know, if this Ben had caught Sundowns or Pirates, they were still going to fight. This isn't going to fight. And I know that people are going to say, but this is the same team that finished second last season. But let's go and analyze last season. This is a team that you could see that they were in decline. They were lost to a bottom-placed AmaZulu. In the bubble, the team that was second and ended up winning the league title, Sundowns, they couldn't win in their first 5 matches in the bubble.
Sure.
But still, Chiefs couldn't take advantage of that. So don't bring that thing that, no, this is the team that finished second last season, you know, and lost the league title on the last day, because that
team wasn't even there. They were nearly there.
Yes. The decline was, you know, it was coming.
Sure.
And at that critical stage of the season, it's all about quality. You could see the quality of Serino, Mshishi, that took Sundowns over the line.
Sure.
In those final 2 weeks.
Sorry for Lily, but why are we not producing young good goalkeepers? Kaizer Chiefs has always have a rich history of producing good goalkeepers. From Brian Baloy to Rowan Fernandez to Khune. There should have been some continuity.
Was there.
Reina,
It's the development.
I know Reina
Reina
was.
Denkalanka.
I know
Yeah,
Reina
but
was.
Reina Denkalanka, and I remember, I think you would come in here because you were there at some stage. Reina Denkalanka, his job, he was not just working with the first team only. He would go down to the development.
Sure.
And remember, Khune coming up, it was even long before Mushin came for the second stint. From the time of Ted Dimitru. And Reina Denkalanka was working with goalkeepers at the bottom.
Yeah.
You know?
He will alternate them. Actually, he will take them from development to go and train with the first team. So at least you get the blend and they feel exposed to the team. Yeah.
Okay.
Because, as you say, Chiefs for some time, especially after 2000, you know, Chiefs, if you look from Brian Baloyi, okay, it was just Rowan Fernandez who were coming from outside, but also those goalkeepers, Rowan Fernandez, Emil Baron, when they went to Kaizer Chiefs, they even became better goalkeepers. Arthur Bartman,
They were on an upward trajectory,
Exactly.
and then they peaked at the right time. At
But I
Kaizer Chiefs.
think most of the challenge that we're actually facing at Chiefs, I think not having a development that is strong enough to actually to reproduce, because I don't think this band would actually have caught up with them so badly if they had a proper and a well set up and a well-oiled development, because they can always feed from the development, because if you're producing quality from a development going up, yes, now and again, you're just going to go for those extraordinary players that are doing exceptionally well to bring them in. But at this point, they have to make shift with what they have.
Okay.
No,
Well,
and that's a perfect analysis.
Right.
And we've always also maintained that the problem with Chiefs, their footballing structures are very weak.
Right. There we go. So maybe they can take a leaf out of the likes of Ralph Hasenhuttl, who Velile says, you know, we don't like to go overseas, but that's the man who came in, looked at the structure from top to bottom, and the results are on the pitch. So a model to consider. We'll be back with more MNF after this. And so we're back with Monday Night Football, Lagu Soweto TV. Let's have a look now. Amapagania, Nesiwelele, alongside the Mamelodi Sundowns and Kaizer Chiefs. They're all going to be in action as far as continental football is concerned. As you can see there, the CAF Champions League fixtures for the first leg and the CAF Confederations Cup fixtures for the first leg as well. The likes of Jwaneng Galaxy hosting Mamelodi Sundowns. That's happening in Bots. And then Kaizer Chiefs will host Primero de Agosto. You got Sagrada Esperanza hosting Orlando Pirates, whilst Bloom Celtic take on Rivers United. So these are the last few teams that are still in action before the year kind of takes a bit of a break. But I guess now looking at this, maybe someone who's well placed, you know, you're looking at the likes of Orlando Pirates now, just come back off winning a trophy. And obviously that energy, that steam will help with something like this, because they've kind of laid the benchmark for themselves as a club and have to follow suit now with their African adventure trip.
Yes, I think Orlando Pirates has always been a club where they're not going to say, okay, let's take it easy now because it's Christmas and it's festive season. And I think they've got the coaches there that's going to install that. Something similar to where Sundowns says we work hard all the time throughout the year. And I think they're going to push and hopefully try and, you know, go further in the competition. And I think that they know themselves that they're forever under pressure. I mean, they lose one game and then Zimbabwe's, you know, they want his head.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a little bit of a motivation for him and his technical team to keep the team motivated and keep them pushing, even though it's the last stretch now. I do believe that this year we should have tried maybe playing a little bit more football over the festive time just to play catch up. Try at least.
Yeah, no, for sure. Maybe let's talk about the new recruits, and I'll speak to really about the old guard. But if you look at the likes of Ofori, Tyson, that's why you're coming in. You've got Dion Hotto. What have you made, and how key is it to have such quality now going into these big competitions?
Yeah, I think first of all, Pirates fans will be forgiving that at least there's a cup in the bag, which is a motivation for the team. It's still, the coach is not off the hook as yet. But I think with those players that you just mentioned now, Tyson, Ofori, being brought into the picture, I think it stabilized the team. It gave them more confidence. I think this was prudent for them for winning the cup. So I think the well-balanced players that are actually there have made the job of a coach a little bit easier, and actually to take them to a greater height. Going to Africa, I think those players, some of them are well within their ranks to actually to give good performances.
I mean, Velile, we speak about like the players that are there, the likes of Uloch, Nopule, doing well up front, but you know, it's probably at the back where Pirates are a bit shakier. What have you made of Abu Nyawuza now when you have an injection of new faces into that back line with Tyson or Ofori? Do you think it's helped lift their game, or are we seeing better performances because of the newer influx of players?
I think focusing on this mission, the CAF conferred. You have an Ofori, who's the #1 goalkeeper of Ghana. You have a Tyson, who's the captain of Bafana Bafana.
Right.
You have a Hotto, who's a key player in the Namibian national team. These are players who are fresh from playing AFCON qualifiers for their countries now in November. And now you are putting them in this CAF interclub mission for Pirates. And these are players, the type of players Pirates didn't have last season. And then you bring in Lodge, you bring in Pule, who also have that experience at international level with Bafana. And coupled now, you're talking about the defense. Maybe previously in the defense, there was only Mayela, who was an international, you know. So now it's different. Yes, you've got Jele, but Jele also has got the experience of having played for Pirates in the 2011, even in the 2013 as well, when they went to the final, 2015 as well, when they went to the CAF Confed Cup final as well. So now I'm more inclined to say this international experience. We've seen it already. What has it done locally with the MTN 8? You know, so now for me, I expect a Pirates team that's going to start well, because these players that we're talking about, they are used to all the conditions.
Sure.
And some of them have been to Angola with their national teams. You know, so and this is going to help. In terms of the camp as well. Yes, I know that the coach doesn't have that experience, but you also have that experience with Coach Fadlo, even though they were knocked out early last year in the Champions League. But in terms of the expectations and the understanding, and even from within the club as well, you could see, even with their planning, the fixture they didn't play this past weekend because they had to travel. They're playing tomorrow, you know. So that also part of experience as well, in terms of how you do your things.
Okay, gents, we don't have much time left of the show, so I want to use this opportunity to kind of get your moment from 2020. It is our last show for the year, so very quickly, let's start with you, Shwaib. Your footballing moment of the year. Go for it.
No, I think it was now the last weekend when the Orlando Pirates won the MTN 8. I think it was good for them. I always wanted them to do well in a certain degree, because they've always had a lot of backlash from not supporters, from the public. And then I was trying to explain, you know, the amount of points they've gotten over the time that Zimbabwe has been there. And I kind of want to prove people, you know, that is where the whole substance of, we were saying, you know, why are you putting this coach under pressure? But if you look at his, you know, at the amount of points that they've gotten, and there the reward came. So I think it was good. And I think that was probably the moment for me.
Okay. Velile?
Coach Pizzo. I think for me, first starting with him winning the treble.
Sure.
And, you know, like I was saying earlier, if Chiefs had done enough, that treble wouldn't have been possible. But for him to drive his team to believe that they can still do it, you know, and then going to Egypt to win a 9th star with a team that had been, I mean, finding it difficult to add to that number 8 CAF Champions League star.
Right.
I mean, that's why they were calling him the ninth man, even before he arrived in Cairo. So, I mean, 6 trophies in one season now? So, I mean, it's something special for South African football. And for me, I think now, after Benni McCarthy, he becomes our best export.
Okay, fair enough. I think you're correct there. Cal?
Yeah, no, for me, in the midst of everything with us being engulfed with the coronavirus, we actually managed to actually get the league to kick off, bring the actions to the people to be safe and stay at home and still watch their favorite teams play. So I think that was for me a highlight, because there was a lot of uncertainty of actually the games having to kick off.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's my panel with their impressions. For me, though, obviously, we're looking ahead to 2021, and we're hoping that more people like yourselves at home can make their way to the stadiums again to kind of add that 11th man that's been missing from the football so far. We've done a credible job in 2020 of kind of keeping COVID at bay as far as the league is concerned. So kudos to all those in charge. Gentlemen, thank you to you too for being thoughtful and always having something worthwhile to say. Really have enjoyed having you guys on the platform. And that's for you too at home. Thank you for engaging as always, whether it be at Front Sports or on that hashtag of MNF on Soweto TV. For myself, Gamildien, and the team that have made this possible, we wish you a great festive and an excellent start to 2021. Until we meet again, take care.